Now on RTÉ Radio 1, one of the iconic voices behind global pop group Westlife and a celebrated solo artist and songwriter, Mark Feehily, takes us on a journey through the music that shaped his life and inspired his career.
Hello and welcome to Musical Icons, a show where I celebrate the legends who shaped the soundtrack of my life. From timeless classics to groundbreaking hits, I want to bring you on a musical odyssey of the artists and music that I love. So turn up the volume and join me, Mark Feehily, as I pay tribute to Amy Winehouse, who remains one of the most impactful singers of the 21st century. Her influence is so remarkable considering her brief stint in the spotlight. We all know her name so very well, but today I really want to talk about her as an artist, a vocalist and a person who was profoundly talented in such a raw way. Her debut album, Frank, came out in 2003 when she was just 20 years old. It went triple platinum in the UK, and for that to happen to a young female jazz singer was very unusual and also extremely exciting. Moving back in time, I was a massive fan of the TV show Later with Jools Holland back in the late 90s and early noughties. And Jools had a bit of a habit of introducing me to my next favourite artist. So I used to always watch his show waiting for somebody to come along that was going to essentially change my life as a music fan. And the first time I ever heard Amy Winehouse perform and sing was live on the Jools Holland TV show. I was back in Sligo, off tour with Westlife on a few months break, and I seen her and I was like, wow, okay, here we go. And she had an electric guitar in her hand and she was kind of plucking away at it, and the next thing she opened her mouth and sung, and it just blew my mind. She sounded like one of the best singers I've ever heard, straight up. And the song was extremely interesting in the sense that it was very, very jazz, but yet also hip-hop and very modern and very edgy and hard. So, yeah, this is Amy Winehouse live on the Jools Holland show. The first time I ever heard her. This is Stronger Than Me.
This audio was recorded by Westlife International.
And that was that. I was like, whoa, who is this? I mean, she just sounded absolutely amazing. That show, Jools Holland, had everyone from Mary J. Blige to Coldplay, you name it. And she came out there, and to stand out a mile amongst all of these globally successful and talented artists was really something. But the next song she's done on the same night, which just kind of really sealed the deal for me, was Take the Box. And we're going to hear that now. She wrote the song when she was 18 or 19 years old, and the emotional intelligence in the songwriting, because as a songwriter, she was just as talented as she was vocally. Heartbreak, self-awareness, bitterness, vulnerability, all delivered. This is Amy Winehouse, again live on Later with Jools Holland in 2003 with Take the Box. The iconic Amy Winehouse there, live on Later with Jools Holland singing Take the Box. And after hearing those two performances and seeing her live, I was absolutely hooked. And of course, I went in search of her album, and her debut album, Frank, was out, and I went and found it and listened to it. And I have to say, my mind was just blown once again, because the album is such an interesting mixture and hybrid of old school jazz songwriting, but also fused with modern hip-hop beats, and just something that we had never ever heard before. The next song I'm going to play for you is a song called I Heard Love Is Blind, and it just goes to show that she wasn't trying to write pop hits. The song doesn't really even have a chorus, but you can hear that jazz, hip-hop phrasing. And yeah, Amy Winehouse, Frank album, I Heard Love Is Blind. Here it is. Who wouldn't be sold listening to that song? And I have to say, I had my fellow bandmates in Westlife's heads wrecked when I got this album, but I was just going on and on and on about this new singer, Amy Winehouse, that I discovered. And this is, of course, long before she sort of became a household name. A bit later down the line, I had a little bit of a I told you so moment with the boys, and they all became massive fans, of course, obviously. Now, the next song is actually very Amy Winehouse, and the fact that I can't even say the title live on air is quite true to her. I think she would have liked the fact that she had a curse word in the title of one of her songs. I was lucky enough to meet her around the time of this song being released, because we both used to go to this same sort of live open mic night in London that I used to kind of go along to, and she was, like I say, coming up in the world, but she wasn't a megastar yet. So, you know, you had the pleasure of kind of talking to her, and I told her that I loved her album, and she was really, really friendly and really unassuming, and she just was all about the music and the vocals, and really didn't seem to have any interest at all in being famous or being the celebrity in the room. So this next song, written with Salim Remy, an amazing producer from the United States who really helped her form her debut sound for the album Frank, is, I can't say the title fully, but this is F Me Pumps.
This audio was recorded by Westlife International.
That is a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there from Amy Winehouse. I think she was sort of describing the type of girl she didn't want to be in that song. Just another good example of her fantastic songwriting abilities. So the next song was actually originally written by Phil Spector. And it doesn't surprise me that Amy Winehouse covered this, because she was a big Phil Spector fan, Ronettes fan, and that whole era. To Know Him Is to Love Him is absolutely one of my favourite Amy Winehouse songs. It's beautiful. It's like a warm hug and just another string to her bow. This is Amy Winehouse, To Know Him Is to Love Him. Absolutely beautiful. To Know Him Is to Love Him. Written by Phil Spector, who obviously transformed the Ronettes. And if you look at the Ronettes and listen to the Ronettes, you can see a lot of their influence on Amy, including the beehive haircut and the clear sort of vocal similarities that I certainly can hear when I listen to Amy singing. Now, to say that there was a dramatic shift and change in Amy Winehouse's life and career on her second album, Back to Black, is a bit of an understatement. She still worked with Salim Remy, but also Mark Ronson, who we all know and love as a producer, worked on this album too, and really helped her to hone a sound. Skipping forward to the second single release of this album, released on the 8th of January 2007, this next song is Amy Winehouse from the album Back to Black. And this is, you all know it very well, You Know I'm No Good. And global megastar Amy Winehouse at this point was born. Written with Mark Ronson and produced by Mark Ronson, that was You Know I'm No Good. And the next song, let's just keep it snappy here and get straight into it. This is Back to Black. Absolutely stunning. That is, of course, Amy Winehouse, the lady who today we are celebrating the life, career and music of. And Amy came to Ireland in December 2006. Who would have thought that Amy Winehouse would be down in Dingle? But she did go to Dingle, and she recorded a number of performances for the fantastic show Other Voices. The next two songs you're going to hear are her in a church in Dingle, St. James's Church, and she was showcasing her unique talent in such a broken down, raw acoustic way. You just heard a beautiful rendition of Love is a Losing Game by Amy Winehouse, accompanied by musicians Dale Davis and Robin Bangery. It's amazing the sound that you can make with just three people like that. Second, you heard Tears Dry on Their Own, which some of you who are familiar with the studio version will be hearing something in the background that you maybe recognise, and actually that is because Ain't No Mountain High Enough is actually interpolated or used in the backing track to Amy's song Tears Dry on Their Own. Now, next up is Me and Mr. Jones. Another one of my favourite Amy songs, and not many people know this, but it's actually written about her deep admiration for the rapper Nas, whose real name is Nasir Jones, so therefore Mr. Jones, and they both share the birthday September 14th, and she even mentions the fact that they missed out a planned joint birthday celebration. That never happened. Anyways, this is Me and Mr. Jones by Amy Winehouse on Radio 1.
This audio was recorded by Westlife International.
Me and Mr. Jones there about Nas the rapper. Who would have known that? Anyways, moving swiftly on, in 2007, Mark Ronson, superstar DJ, released an album called Version, and it was an album full of different artists doing cover versions. Now, at some point, obviously, seeing as he had worked so closely with Amy Winehouse, they obviously sat down and said, right, will you do a song for this album? And they chose the song by the Zootons, Valerie. I don't think they had any clue whatsoever that this song would sort of almost overshadow all of the other previous work that they had done together and become Amy Winehouse's, probably, I'm going to say, her biggest airplay hit around the world. And to this day, it is sung in karaoke bars. And I think it's probably the most known song that she ever released. And funnily enough, it sort of plays on that whole tension between Amy Winehouse, the global megastar, and Amy Winehouse, the artist, because it certainly doesn't have the depth and feel of, say, Love is a Losing Game or Take the Box. But yeah, you know, it was a massive hit for her. So get up off your seats and jump around. This is Amy Winehouse, Valerie. Amy Winehouse, Mark Ronson produced That's Valerie, originally by the Zootones. And next, some of you may have to explain to some of your younger listeners out there who Paul Weller is. Paul Weller, basically, for those younger listeners, is a very, very, very cool rock star. And he was in a band called The Jam and also The Style Council. And he was a very, very big fan of Amy Winehouse, like a lot of very, very successful, cool, credible musicians. So Amy really did transcend a lot of genres and she had a lot of respect within the industry. Paul was such a fan that the two ended up working together on Jools Holland's TV show. And right now I'm going to play two songs that they performed together live on Jools Holland. The first one is called Don't Go to Strangers. This song has actually gone down as a bit of a classic moment in music history. Their performance together showcased immense mutual respect, and Weller was visibly impressed on the night by Amy's vocals. So you're going to hear that first, Don't Go to Strangers, and then they do a very, very fun, cool, soulful, uplifting version of the song we all know and love, Heard It Through the Grapevine. This is Amy Winehouse and Paul Weller singing two songs together. That was Amy Winehouse singing not one but two songs with the Mod Father, Paul Weller, on Jools Holland. And what a duo, what an iconic band they would have made. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for sticking with me over the last few days whilst I celebrated and talked about three of my absolute favourite artists of all time, Nina Simone, Whitney Houston, and of course today, Amy Winehouse. Amy was a true force of nature, and I'm certainly thankful that I was around to see her in all her glory. And her entire career was just stunning and sad. Very, very sad. She left us far too soon. But thankfully, we have her music to remember her by. And this next song, this last song, is a song that changed everything for her. Mark Ronson produced it. And this song kind of says it all. It wraps up her career, her wonderful, wonderful and short career. Thank you for being with me on Radio 1. I'm Mark Feehily and this is Amy Winehouse with Rehab. Take care.
They tried to make me go